a report coming out of Bornu State says that more children are missing daily as Boko Haram is stepping up its recruitment of personnel into their coffers of activities. Remember that the federal government had reported that they have about 129,000 Boko Haram insurgents in their custody, both those that are repentant and those that are going to go on to face the law. 129. So it also means that in light of all the quailings that the Joint Task Force and the Nigerian military have been doing to address insecurity, especially Boko Haram activity in the northeast and the northwest, there has been a draining of their manpower. And one thing that we have established over the decade-long insurgents in Nigeria is that most times community members are co-opted into these Boko Haram activities in the country. And now Bornu State is crying out that most of the children, reports of children just getting missing have come on the rise again. And at this time is as a result of fresh recruitment that are being done by Boko Haram to get more, underage persons or more persons, more youths into their, workforce, as it were. So the case of missing children in Bornu has sparked a public outcry following a disturbing video of a young boy confessing to undergoing military training in a forest alongside dozens of other children. Now, it has to be so funny for us to see the fact that not only are these things going on, but they flicker on a camera, video it, and send it out back into the community as some form of awareness or some form of information. Because this young boy, before getting into this camp, did he have a phone of his own? So he's done, and he's in training. Someone flickers on the camera and says, "Hey, come talk," and then you make the visual viral, and he's claiming the fact that he's undergoing training with several other young children. Now, some residents have spoken out and are recounting in serious agony of their missing loved ones and are expressing fear over the rise in child disappearances in the state. Looking into it as a step up in Boko Haram insurgents recruiting more persons. Now, remember also that there has been a development on the back of the hashtag Bring Back Our Girls movement renewed calls for the Nigerian government to release findings of the fact-finding committee on the 2014 Chibok schoolgirls abduction. Remember that the Chibok schoolgirls abduction is not something that has absolutely been put to rest. It has been shelved to some degree. It is not on the front burner of conversation, but in recent times there has been rise in these conversations, with about 78 girls still unaccounted for more than a decade later. Now, the several groups urging transparency and accountability in the search of those that are still missing. Now, the video of a boy around 10 years of age confessing to undergoing arms training along with approximately 30 other yet to be identified children in a forest near Ajiri in Mafa local government area of Bornu State went viral over the weekend. Now, the video posted by Zangazola Makama on X and reportedly recorded on January 22nd, 2025, captured by the boy demonstrating his knowledge of handling firearms. Now, this is really, really, really troubling. And he confessed that he and other children of similar age are being trained and drilled deep inside the forest. And you know that this is not just a video that made its way out. It's a clear, what would I call it? It's a clear affront on, the Nigerian military and, the armed forces, as it were, as they continue to fight down these particular activities. Now, they are training. Now, some of the things that he said in the video, they are being trained on how to handle weapons. They're also being trained, to some of the people training them are persons bigger than them. Now, to support his claim The boy was handed an AK-47 rifle, which he expertly stripped and reassembled with near perfect precision. I don't know how you feel about this, but this is a serious problem that we have on our hands. How are we going to handle this? Two things. We'll take a video from the former president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, who says that there are foreign elements that are fostering insecurity in Nigeria. On the heel of that, there's also a conversation by the DG of the DSS, who has given, some wisdom as to how we can tackle insecurity. We continue to say, as a security expert, continue to tell us every time we have it on our show, that there is the knowledge of how this thing should be handled in Nigeria to quell it, permanently. But why it is not handled remains a mystery to us as Nigerians. But let's listen to the former president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari.
And I suspect there must be a strong international group that wants to destroy Nigeria. Otherwise, how can Boko Haram come and stop us from prospecting and development for petroleum in Lake Chad Basin? But we have managed to show Nigeria and the rest of the world that Kolmani, we have so many billions of crude oil and gas there.
The state government believes that these projects will boost.
Anyway, it continues to be a mystery to most of our past leaders. There are even conversations to go all the way back into the activity of insecurity under the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan administration, and that is still a major concern. Everybody seems to be amazed at how Boko Haram has continued to thrive, and we need to now look intentionally into the different allegations of, for instance, there is also the bracket of conversation that U.S. aid have been part of funding activities for the Boko Haram insurgents in Nigeria. Now, there are lots of things that are begging for more thorough investigations. Before now, there are investigations that have been done in Nigeria. And why haven't the details and results and information from these investigations been put to good use? We'll take the visual from the DG of the DSS, just telling us a few things that can be done right to curb insecurity in Nigeria.
To mobilizing to curb insecurity. I'll share experience with you when I was state director in Bauchi. Most of you will remember an incident in Azari. A group of terrorists, the Boko Haram, then had invaded Azari. They were shooting in an attempt to kidnap, and the community chased them. They killed some members of the community, but the community members killed all of them. The last guy, Khalid, climbed onto a tree and was firing. The community stood, they were resilient, and they killed Khalid. Since that day, there has not been one terrorist attack in Azari. As a matter of fact, the former head of state, General Ibrahim Badamosi Babangida, said, and I quote, "If we want to stop or curb this terrorism, we shall emulate the Azari example." Tafawa Balewa also happened to be a local government in Bauchi that was always in flames. And the people of Bogoro and some part of Tafawa Balewa, where the Sayawas are, rose up on one occasion. They knew their terrain better, climbed onto trees and mountains. When the invaders came, they did not only repel them, they seized their weapons And since then, you can attest to it that you hardly hear about Tafawa Balewa again. What I'm trying to say, the practical approach to mobilizing people, is that you have to get everyone involved. You do not expect the Nigerian Army, police, DSS, to protect every Nigerian or every community. It is not going to work. In the US, if you visit someone in the house, you'll be shocked that when the guy hears a police siren, he will just pull his drawer, bring out his gun and keep it. So one of my hosts did that, and I asked him, why are you putting gun here? He said, well, if they are chasing someone and he enters my house, I'll shoot him first. And that is the layer we have to start thinking about. How can you create first line of defense? The military, police, and other security agencies are to deal with the bigger ones, the organized ones. But it is impossible for us to deploy it to every community in the country. It is unimaginable that any security agencies that has the resources to do it. So as we live here, we all belong to one community or the other. What we have to start experimenting is how we can make the community to prepare first, if the first line of defense for us. General Wahab said it clearly. And for me, there are 3 takeaways from his lecture. By the way, the general and I were guest speaker at one program in our office, so I'm not surprised that his dexterity. He has developed some sort of expertise in what he does. But 3 things for me. He asked us a question. What is our own culture? Our culture is communal. We do things together. Festival together. Ceremonies together. Wedding ceremony, whatever. So why can't we fight some miscreants, some charlatans among us together? The community should say, you cannot come here. This is what Tafawa Balewa has done. If you go to that community to attack them, you'll be sorry for yourself. I challenge anybody to try it. And this is the way we have to do. We have to allow some level of armament for the communities, and they can serve as the first line of defense. Second takeaway from what the general said, all society approach is not the first time we are hearing. But what I'm saying, the way to do it is when we live here, those of us who have some influence, the elites in society, discuss with your communities, come to us, get some sort of approval and guidance, and then we can stop these criminals. You can imagine you call sector, let's say sector 4 or whatever, sector of the army, to come to this community if there's an attack. Before they even arrive there, if they attack another community, what happens? This is what we should take away from here. And lastly, he said something very instructive. By the way, I like Osman. He knows who to give time. Have you seen him around here? He has advised himself. So don't run into trouble like the CDS. Okay, so last thing he said to us, which is quite important, is that we should not make this another talk show. And that's why this is my intervention. That security starts from you. There's nothing that is new. 1870 something, I can't remember. The French Revolution, in the street of Paris, they were beheading people. We've had hijack of plane, We'll forget quickly. We've had the wet year syndrome. We had so many. There's no Matasini or whatever. There will always be security problems. So when I hear people say this is security in Nigeria, as long as human beings exist, there will be security problems. The issue is the response. We have to take that mentality away. What is the security agencies doing? Who, apart from a tree, knows that they want to come and cut him and remain standing? Only a tree. We have to get the communities to rise and defend themselves first. And the time to start it is now. When you move out from here, I do that every day. I come from a village in Ijebu land, Ogun State, and I talk to my people. I know the level of armament they are entitled to. I know how they organize themselves in quarters. We have 4 quarters. I am using my expertise to guide them. You cannot wait for the military to come and do everything.
Of course, credit to Symphony right there for that particular video this morning. The DG of the DSS himself speaking to what must be done. The conversation here is beyond what we should do, but implementation is a critical problem that we have in Nigeria. I remember that in 2022, the former governor of Zamfara State, Bello Matawalle, had made a case, especially for his state, for his residents and citizens to bear arms as first guard preservation against insurgents. And at the time, everybody went on, oh, we can't do this. Of course, as a nation and looking at certain clans, we have also seen the negative side of allowing people to bear arms, and that's something we're definitely not ready for in Nigeria. But at the time, the likes of Samuel Otham of Benue States, Bello Matawalle of Zamfara State at the time had all pushed for some form of arm bearing by citizens, especially in crisis-prone states, to be able to provide themselves the first ranking security that they need. And this is the same thing now that the DG of the DSS is alluding to again. But we are always choosing what we would decide to implement in our country and how slowly we also implement these things. But we'll just put up the video of the young boy who is the under-8 fighters who are confessing to being trained in Bornu State. Now the video is allow it for the credibility of the fact that that video is in existence, but we've already talked about the detail would allow it to flow with the soundbite, and of course our northern community can take out the interpretation, whilst we'll just give a summary afterwards.
Ajigi. A gefen Borno ne ko gefen Adamawa? Yankin Borno. Okay. Kace ka gaya mana cewa ana koya muku bindiga. Suwa da wa suke koya muku bindiga?
Mutane su biyar.
Su biyar? Za ka yi kira mana sunayen su? Ali. Shehu. Umar uku. Alhaji Shehu. Malam Oro. Su ne su biyar ɗin. Okay, su biyar suke koya muku bindiga. Kuna da yawan da suke koya muku bindiga?
Za mu ga mu 30
Dukan ku yara irin sayunka ko kuma wanda suka girme ka, wanda kake girme su?
Sa'a na dai kamar ni, kamar na gaba da ni.
Sayunka da kuma na gaba da ni. Wurin jeji ne ko kuma gari? Jeji ne wurin? Yanzu aka baka bindiga aka ce ka warware, za ka yi warware?
Zan yi.
Za ka iya? To shi kenan, ba shi bindiga mu gani ko shi.
I mean, just as you see, the gun is being handed over to him, and he is going to give us an example of what it means to be trained in the handling of the gun. He dismembered the gun and then reassembled it. and it's reported in its near perfection of how the young boy was able to do that. And it's alleged that about 20 to 30 of them are getting this training in the forest in Nigeria. That's an AK-47 rifle that has been handed over to maybe an under 13, and is being trained to become an insurgent in his own country. One question you want to ask is, what has the boy been told? What has he been sold as a propaganda or as a lie? Something that will make his heart strong enough to be able to bear arms, because when he will be returned to the community that he called his own people, and he will go and attack these persons. Some he will recognize the faces of his cousins or something, but he will still go ahead to perpetrate mayhem. We need to look at the psychological effect of all of this and how this can be quelled before long. What can the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs do to safeguard our children? What is the military in Nigeria going to do about this video? It is the affront boldness to leave it with the location and send it out. It's a clear-cut statement to the Nigerian military, and I hope that the Nigerian military doesn't take this line on their behind. But desperate times call for desperate measures. I think the DG of the DSS has already said that